What if the royal palace wasn't as peaceful as it looked? What if behind the polished smiles and flawless photographs, there were quiet tears, whispered tensions, and emotional scars no one dared to talk about? For young Prince George, that illusion shattered the moment he saw his sister's name being quietly pushed aside to make room for someone else. And not just anyone, but Queen Camilla's own grandchildren. That day, the palace didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a battlefield, not of swords or crowns, but of loyalty, pain, and power. George, just a boy, realized something was terribly wrong. And as the truth unfolded, the quiet halls of Buckingham Palace echoed with something no one expected: the heartbreak of children. It was supposed to be a normal afternoon at Kensington Palace. A small documentary team had been invited to capture the real, royal family. Warm, united, happy. But that perfect image was torn apart by a single sentence. Little Prince Louis, full of innocence, was asked what he loved most about his sister Charlotte. His answer was simple: "I don't like when Granny Camilla made her cry." The room fell silent. Every adult froze. Cameras kept rolling, but no one knew what to say. That one line didn't just reveal a family issue, it exposed an emotional wound no one wanted to admit existed. Suddenly, it became clear that behind every perfect photo was a story that wasn't so perfect. The palace staff panicked. PR advisors whispered frantically about editing the footage, controlling the narrative, erasing the slip-up. But it was too late. Louis had spoken a truth too raw to ignore. People outside the palace began asking questions. What had really happened to make a child say that? What kind of moment would leave such a mark on someone so young? Camilla, once seen as the warm and friendly grandmother figure, suddenly found herself in a very different light. And even though William and Kate tried to stay calm, insiders said this wasn't the first time Louis had hinted at something darker. His words weren't random, they were a reflection of something deeper. That something became even more obvious during a formal portrait session. Everyone was there: the stylists, the photographers, the royals. Charlotte, still learning how to manage the stiffness of royal life, started fidgeting. It was harmless, just a little girl tugging at her dress. But Queen Camilla's voice, cold and sharp, cut through the moment. "Stand still and stop acting spoiled." She didn't yell, but her tone was enough. Charlotte's eyes welled up. Her little face fell. She ran into her mother's arms, crying, not loudly, but deeply. That one line hit harder than anyone expected. It wasn't just scolding. It felt like something had broken. From that moment, things changed. Charlotte became quieter. That night, she didn't ask for her favorite bedtime story. She just curled up silently beside her mother. And William and Kate, heartbroken and deeply concerned, made a quiet but strong decision. Camilla would never be left alone with the children again. Nothing was announced. No public drama. But behind the scenes, rules were made. Kate would be present for every interaction. Staff were informed. Camilla's warm smile stayed for the cameras, but her closeness to the children was now only surface level. And Charlotte? She stayed closer to her parents. She didn't cry again, but she also didn't forget. Prince William, once just a future king, became something far more important: a protective father. He didn't lash out. He didn't go to the press. But those who knew him could see the difference. His friendly gestures toward Camilla became colder. Kate, once so open, now stood between Camilla and the children with gentle strength. Their focus was simple: keep the kids safe. Keep them emotionally secure. Because they knew that emotional wounds in childhood can last longer than any royal legacy. And Camilla? She was still there, still smiling, but her influence quietly faded. Months later, at a Christmas Carol event, the emotional distance revealed itself again. Someone asked Louis if Camilla played games with them during the holidays. His voice was soft. "Not really." And Charlotte? She said nothing. She just held onto her dress tightly. Kate's hand reached out to her daughter, without a word. William's eyes tightened. And insiders say the family drove home in silence. That night, Kate reportedly told someone close to her, "She always remembers." And that was the truth. Children don't forget how you make them feel, especially when it hurts. Eventually, William and Kate sat down with the children. No cameras, no pressure, just love. They asked them to speak openly, gently encouraging them to share. And for the first time, Charlotte spoke. Her voice was soft, but the words hit hard. She grabbed me too hard, and I cried. Louis nodded. George added that he had told Camilla to stop, but she hadn't listened. That moment broke William's heart. But it also gave him clarity. From that day, no more unsupervised time. No more blurred lines. Every visit was planned. Every meeting recorded. Kate began keeping notes, not to punish anyone, but to protect her children. And William took all of this to King Charles, quietly but firmly. This wasn't about power. This wasn't about revenge. It was about Charlotte's well-being. Period. Throughout all of this, one silent presence kept guiding their hearts. Princess Diana. Her parenting style was the opposite of cold. She listened. She cared. She let her sons cry and laugh and speak their truth. William remembered that. And so did Kate. They made sure their children knew it was okay to feel, to hurt, to be real. Bedtime stories often included tales of Diana's kindness. And that spirit, warm, human, emotional, began to define their own parenting. In contrast, Camilla's way felt harder. More controlled, less warm. It wasn't evil, but it didn't fit. At first, people said it was just a generational thing. But soon it was clear. There was a deep divide. William and Kate raised their kids with hugs, honesty, and understanding. Camilla preferred discipline, order, and firmness. To her, that was love. But to the children, it felt cold. There were little moments. Louis spilling juice and being scolded by Camilla, Charlotte being told to sit still too long. That made a difference. The kids naturally leaned into their parents, away from Camilla. Not because they hated her, but because they felt safer elsewhere. Camilla, for her part, didn't understand why this was happening. She told friends she didn't mean to hurt anyone, that she believed in preparing the children for the tough world ahead. But she couldn't see how her ways clashed with the emotional openness that Diana had left behind. Even though she was queen consort, Camilla began to feel like an outsider. Her relationship with the children became more formal, her presence less frequent. Charles tried to stay neutral, but even he noticed the shift. Camilla felt pushed aside. And deep down, she feared she would never be fully accepted by the next generation. King Charles was caught between love and loyalty. He saw the tension. He saw the careful distance William kept, the way the kids hesitated around Camilla. Charles didn't want to hurt his wife, but he also didn't want to ignore his grandchildren's pain. It wore on him. Every family event became a balancing act. Every photo, a performance. Behind the smiles was a man who knew his family was quietly breaking apart and couldn't stop it. As time went on, the divide became impossible to ignore. Camilla's influence faded. Charles stood awkwardly between his wife and son. The kids smiled more when she wasn't around. The emotional line had been drawn, not in anger, but in necessity. And while the royal family continued their public events, their private world had changed forever. What started as a single sentence from a child became a moment of reckoning for the entire royal family. It forced them to choose between protecting tradition or protecting their children. William and Kate chose their children. And in doing so, they may have changed the monarchy forever. Not with a revolution, not with scandal, but with quiet strength, emotional honesty, and the determination to do what was right. If you found this story as powerful and emotional as we did, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring more real stories to light.